Good morning, Fahim. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, Amit. Amit, we are just
Okay.
waiting. We are just waiting for 3 minutes. Two, three more speakers are joining in.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Ramesh sir, I guess you were on mute.
Hello. Okay.
So I'll just give a small brief about what happened yesterday, right? So yesterday, like this, as we all know, this is a 2 days conclave on smart cities, discussing on various aspects of smart cities. So yesterday we had a very interesting first panel where Sujit was a part of that panel. He's here also. So with the topic was building smart cities of future. With regards to information communication technology, dividing effectiveness and efficiency, which was moderated by Vikram Segal, sir. He's the IGP CRPF, and we had almost around 5, 6 smart cities CEOs and commissioners present there. Then we had a very interesting fireside chat. Then we had second panel was on use of technology in tackling pandemics, disaster management, learning for the administration. So and plus almost around 300 plus viewers we had yesterday. So today, it's like today we'll be having three more panels today. So the first panel, which is on transformation of cities from smart to responsive, that's the topic today, which Amit will be moderating. Then we have got it's like a panel on intelligent, responsive, and progressive technologies, and then connected and integrated ecosystem towards smart cities infrastructure, transportation, and mobility. Those are the three panels which we'll be having today. So I think so, Amit. Over to you. And when the other two, three speakers join, they'll come in a bit later, so you can at least start by introduction.
Okay. Thanks, Fahim. And I would like to welcome all the panelists. And I'm pretty excited for this session, which is related to transformation of cities from smart to responsive. And when we talk about from smart to responsive journey, it's also about impact on citizens, energy, environment, and governance. So let me give you a brief introduction about the panel. So in the panel, we have Sujit Patheja, who is the Director for Smart Cities and Urban Governance with SAP. We have Mr. Lalit Jain. He is the Director, cum Special Secretary, Rural Development and Panchayats for Government of Himachal Pradesh. We have Mr. Sanyam Aggrawal. He is Additional Commissioner and CEO of Ludhiana Municipal Corporation. We have Mr. Satya Prakash Patel, who is the Municipal Commissioner of Aligarh Municipal Corporation. We have Gaurav Antil, who is the Joint Commissioner for Gurugram Municipal Corporation. And we have Ramesh Singh Chauhan, Mr. Ramesh Singh Chauhan, who is the Nodal Officer for Project Cell and Social Development Expert for Dehradun Municipal Corporation. So if you look at the kind of August panel that we have, all these members are at the forefront in terms of helping cities not only to become smart but also become responsive. So, let me set the ground rules for this panel discussion with the permission of the panel. Uh, what we will do is we will begin with a small presentation with Sujit, followed by a 2 to 3 minute introduction by each member about what are their initial thoughts around this topic of impact on citizens, energy, environment, and governance related to this journey from smart to responsive. And thereafter, what we will do is we will get into the questions. And Fahim, are we going to get questions from the audience as well during this panel discussion?
I think so. After that, if anyone wants to if anyone wants to ask the question, it will show a ticker below to you in your this thing. So if there is a question, they can surely ask. So the audience is basically viewing it on separately, so you cannot see them here, but they are viewing. So we have got a different link for the delegates who are there.
No, but my question is that whether we will be able to see their questions.
Yeah. So it will come as a ticker down, it's like in your screen below, like where
Okay.
this the ticker is transformation of cities on from smart and to responsive is running. So just above that, there'll be a question which can pop up. So you can answer to that.
Great. Thanks, Fahim. So not wasting much of the time, I would like audience to get maximum out of the knowledge that our August panel has. I'll move over to Sujit. Over to you, Sujit, for your
Thanks,
presentation.
Amit. Yeah, thank you, Amit. So I will try and keep my presentation short so that this gives opportunity for us to hear everybody else also. Uh, so just let me know once my screen is visible. One second.
There is a share screen option, Sujit. You can just
Yeah,
click on
yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm not sure if the right.
Yeah, it's visible now. You can make it. Yeah, it's okay. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Uh, Good morning, everyone. And I have had an opportunity to interact with some of you in the past, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to present my point of view as at the beginning of this panel. So, as I said, I will try and keep this as short as possible to ensure that we hear your point of views more than what I have to bring to the table. Uh, when we talk about smart cities, it's a 5 year old program now. And today's topic talks about moving from being smart to responsive. Uh, I felt that we have seen various versions of smart cities 1.0, 2.0, and so on. I felt that I should bring out something that a philosophy that SAP believes in, and hence the title Smart Cities X.O. uh, we truly believe this X and O stands for a philosophy that we have been propagating across the industries. X stands for experience and O stands for operations. So as SAP, we believe that when you bring experience and operations together, that's when you become truly responsive. And the theme of my presentation today revolves around X and O. In about 2018, McKinsey did a small study where they they found out that digital technologies, digital solutions can help us meet about 70% of our sustainable development goals as highlighted by the UN. uh, they further went on to focus on some of the key areas like mobility, citizen and living, environment and infrastructure, and economy, and how digital solutions can help reduce commute times, reduce fatalities or disease burden on the citizens, or greenhouse gas emissions and water consumption for economy or for environment, and how it can increase formal employment in a city and decrease cost of living. So that is the overarching impact of technology, of digital solutions on a city, that on the sustainable development goals that each city today strives to meet. In the in the current times, this becomes even more more important. When I say current times, given our current situation, uh, the out of those entire set of digital solutions, these three areas become even more important. A digital government where government's operational efficiency. So today when we looked at the COVID-19 situation, we have while we have done wonderfully well in some areas, but we have also struggled in areas like getting the right set of information at the city level. Number of beds, places for isolation, where how many ventilators do I have, how much medical equipment I have, how much sanitizers or sanitization equipment I have. So all this information, which if we have a digital government where all of these systems and departments are interlinked, all of this data is made available. uh, our response time to a pandemic like this would become really really improve really well. The second element of this is the data driven governance, which is an offshoot of what I just talked about. Once you have all of this data, you use this data to make the informed decisions. The third and most critical point is citizen engagement, and this will become even more important as we move forward. As part of this, new normal, as we call it, where citizens have moved back from places where they have worked, and now the government of the cities are have to engage them, have to ensure that their livelihood is maintained where they are, and their experience of interacting with the government should be better than before. So these three become even more important. They become strategic priorities for a city government in the given times, and overall in the digital economy. How do we improve, or how do we move from the current state to the future state, around these three strategic priorities areas? So I think we've done the optimization phase, where we have done certain implementations, we have done certain interventions from technology point of view. To certain extent, I think we have also done the extension, where we have delivered services to a citizen proactively. We've done that as well. But I think it's now time for us to do transformation, and that is where we become from smart to responsive. When you do this transformation, where citizens just need to give their data once. We have seen a lot of announcements in this regard, where a lot of states have now started working on projects where they're looking at uh, collecting citizen data just once, and then they can apply for various schemes and services using that single data set. They don't have to apply again, they don't have to submit their details again and again to be able to reap the benefits of government schemes. So that's where transformation really comes in. Now, what is also important to understand is that cities there is a competition among cities, uh, inherent, or sometimes explicit, sometimes inherent. But there is a competition where citizens are moving from one city to the other for better livelihood, for better opportunities. Now, how do cities outperform each other is not just by including digital solutions into their system, but also by becoming responsive. How do they become responsive? By building trust amongst the citizens. So it is when you invest in digital solutions and you build trust amongst your citizens. That's when you become a truly responsive city, or a truly responsive government for the citizens. And how do you build this trust? A typical This is typical life flow for a city. You start with a cycle of reform to policy. You to identify a reform, and you form a policy around it. Then that policy is put into operations. The operations turns into outcome, and outcome lead to reform, and then the cycle repeats. So this entire cycle, if you see, there are a few places where we have X marked. These are the places where you get experience data from the citizens. So if you start from a reform, when you're defining your strategy or a political agenda for a city, that's where the feedback from the citizens becomes really, really important, to incorporate that as part of your for defining your strategy for the city. You start with that. You define your legal framework. You define outcomes, plan budgets, and define KPI. So this completes the cycle for from reform to policy. You've created a policy. Once you've created the policy, you allocate budget and set up programs, put people to it, and provide infrastructure and any IT technology infrastructure as well to execute that policy. When it comes to operation, that there again we see two places where you start collecting data from the citizen, feedback from the citizen, how to improve these operations. So when they are requesting a service, or when you are providing a service, at both these places you collect citizen feedback. You improve your operations to ensure that the outcome are met. And once the outcome is met, that's where you start analyzing all of this data. So you're in the first three phases, you're collecting all of this data, and in the last phase, outcome to reform, you start analyzing this data. That helps you adjust your strategy, and that goes back to the reform, to building a new reform, or or changing your strategy. So this entire cycle, when implemented in toto, is what makes you truly responsive. So that is where SAP, through its suite of intelligent solutions, have tried to help cities. We have been working with at least five smart cities in India, and various urban local bodies as well, where we are trying to now build this entire ecosystem, where they're able to address not just the citizens and tourists, your utility companies, your administrators, the mobility ecosystem, the mobility service provider, and most importantly, the businesses. That's where the economy will grow. When the business grows in a city, that's how the economy grows. So, as SAP, we've tried to cover the entire ecosystem in a city, and collect, not just operationalize them, but also collect data and make them more, turn them into insights and smart actions. That's what we believe helps cities become truly responsive. So SAP tries, covers we have taken a whole of government approach, where we try to move through the entire maturity journey, from being tactical today to being holistic in the future. So we cover each and every step of this journey, along with the city governments as well as state governments. Uh, so when it comes to experience management, or experience, citizens feedback, it's really important to listen to the citizens, and to sometimes even the employees that are there on the ground, who are interacting with these citizens on a day-to-day basis. Then you need to understand the needs of the community, and then basis that is how you act on the insights across departments. So when you make this change, you make it across various departments in the city, because for a citizen, he's interacting with everybody, whether it is utility companies, or a PWD department, or the municipal corporation. So that, or within municipal corporation as well, he's interacting with multiple departments. So we have to ensure that these insights are spread across departments, and shared, and smart decisions are taken across departments. So I'll probably stop here, because there's more to go, but I will probably stop here, because I want to hear everybody else's thought as well. But as a last point that I want to make towards this is how to use data, how to turn data into an asset. I think it is really important for us to look at today today's environment, where we see data lying in silos, and we're not making decisions based on the right set of data. We are using data from these silos to understand the current situation. But when you bring all of this data together into one place, and you find correlations between, say, between traffic flow and the maintenance of roads, there is enough evidence to suggest that traffic flow does impact the condition of the road in a particular city, or the environment, or the weather of the city. So all of this data is available today. How do we bring this together, and ensure that our maintenance cost for road and infrastructure comes down? It may seem far-fetched, but technology is available today to do this, and there are cities who have done this as well. So I think that's very important. And at that note, I will probably stop my presentation, and I'll be really happy to hear everybody's viewpoint on how do we truly become responsive, not just smart, but truly responsive. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sujit. This was really, I would say, uh, very directional in sense, from the perspective of how this journey, or I would say the entire thought process is evolving from a smart to a responsive perspective. To begin with, if we talk about, I as a the smart city practitioner, I'm often asked to give examples of a compelling smart city application which are actually being used by the real people, by the citizens. So my response typically to that is, the question is not about that. The question is, city may be getting smarter, but they haven't seen the noticeable changes from the user perspective.
Absolutely.
Cities have made digital advances, but what from a citizen perspective we generally feel is that that is invisible, and it is more focused towards the city operations rather than in the parts of the city where people can see, touch, and actually use that technology. So at one point, yes, we do understand that it is important for city managers to understand how energy is being consumed in the smart street lights. It is important for them to understand the overall consumption of water in the city. But at the same time, it is also important for city dwellers to understand that how transformative city applications are people facing, and if they don't light up the thought for the citizens, then they are just means to an end. They are not a step towards the road towards the digital cities. So from that perspective, I feel yes, it is important for us to uh, think from creating a responsive city. An example that I would like to give over here, the point in case would be the entire, uh, I would say, the infrastructure which has got created in India around the toilets, and how these toilets. So earlier, so I would say I look at it, this journey of smart to responsive, a three-phase journey. A three-phase journey where in first phase it was all about collecting data and about the environment of that data. The second is where we are able to process that data. And then the last would be around how corresponding to the real-time action around that data. Now, that is where the inherent transition from a smart to a responsive city is there. Uh, and if I give an example, the example that I would give you is the entire infrastructure that has been created around the uh, toilets and the hygiene of those toilets, cleanliness of those toilets. So today, what happens that if you look at it, most of the cities, and then there are few cities which are at the forefront, how they have done it. Ludhiana has done a tremendous job around that, of how they have mapped each and every toilet, that public toilet that is available in the city, onto using a GI, using their GIS coordinates, and then mapping that and making that available to the large community, so that they can use that as part of their application and make best use of by making that information available to the citizen, and then also taking citizen feedback as part of the responsiveness, so that the city authorities can take appropriate action to ensure that those toilets remain usable for the citizens. Now, this is a very good example of how a smartness from a perspective of creating an infrastructure and making it responsive. Now, in order to move further around these examples of how our city authorities have gone ahead and used technology to first create smart interventions and then transforming those smart interventions into responsive interventions. So in order to do that, as we had agreed in the beginning of the session, that we will have 2 to 3 minutes from each of our distinguished panelists to talk about how they have worked around their cities and their area of operations and transformed things from being smart to responsive, and what is their perspective of how well we can move ahead on this journey of being a responsive uh, to our citizens. So let me begin with Sanyam sir from Ludhiana. Sanyam sir, over to you to start with, and then we'll go in that way. There's no particular order that I'm following. I'm following the order which is appearing on the screen. So pardon me if I'm skipping anyone in terms of the sequence. Over to you. Sam, I guess you are on mute. If you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
You are
Yes, sir.
you are audible, Sam. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me here to share my experience. I belong to 2012 batch of IAS and now have been serving as CEO of Ludhiana Smart City Limited for the past 2 years. So the topic which has been chosen for today's discussion is, I think, like one of the most important topics, and it harps on two major themes which we take as our milestones in our urban planning, basically sustainability and convergence. So, energy, environment, water, and governance, they are basically all interconnected, interlinked, and they all want lead us to plan in a more sustainable manner for the city so that our cities in future they become places for people to have good quality of life. So, starting with some of the projects which we have taken, I would like to highlight how we have made use technology for better decision making and how we have tried to involve citizens to make it a more responsible and responsive mission. So for energy, like we have already taken up a large amount of solar plants. Already 1.2 megawatt has been commissioned in Ludhiana, and we are further planning to expand it to 3 megawatts. And this had been a long pending demand of citizens because city being an industrial hub, so there was quite a demand to switch to renewable sources of energy. Along with it, we have taken there is a project of paddy straw burning, which causes a large amount of pollution in many of the northern states. So there was a keen demand from the public to tackle this problem in a smart city. So with this in mind, we have now starting a project of biogas, bio-CNG formation, which will be based on our inputs of both the sludge which has been generated from sewage treatment plants and from the rice husk, which is the residue after paddy harvesting. So it's a very good project to generate energy and to tackle the environment issues, and it will naturally provide employment to a lot of people for this. The sewage treatment plants generate almost 100 tons of sludge in Ludhiana, and they required a large amount of space, which used to be taken up by them. So, with this project, we would be able to reclaim those land and develop into a nice biodiversity park and maybe a green space, which can be used by the pedestrians. So, the point is like if I target a project in an energy sector, it is automatically taking care of my environment. And if I'm able to bring good governance in that project, so definitely it would be more citizen centric and would cater to the demands of the public. Similarly, for if I take the water sector, so in Ludhiana we have an acute problem that we are supplying almost 400 LPCD of water to our citizens as compared to the national norm of 150 and maybe till 175 in the metro cities. So to reduce this wastage, we are going in for the water SCADA. We have mapped out our tube wells where there are leakages using the latest technologies, and we were able to pinpoint like which are the areas which needed our more focus. And along with that, we are now planning to shift to surface water since the groundwater table is depleting in the city. And this is a World Bank funded project which is being taken up by Smart City. And definitely, this would help in arresting the desertification which is happening because of the depleting groundwater levels. Similarly, we have a very famous drain which is now become a nala. It's called Buddha Nala, which has been polluted because of direct outfalls of industrial and sewage treatment plants in the city. and it has been a long pending demand. And even in the citizen feedback survey, so we got a lot of feedback on taking up that project. So we are now taking up a comprehensive rejuvenation of that drain, in which we would be augmenting our sewage treatment plant capacity, and also we are taking the whole comprehensive beautification of the Nala so that it becomes a vibrant public place for the citizens. So it's almost a 14-kilometer stretch, and we are in now almost finalization of our tender. So if this project goes through, it will be a landmark in urban transformation in Ludhiana. So coming to governance, I think the smart city mission can serve as a model of good governance for all the departments, because the aim of governance in urban planning is to be transparent, accountable, and responsive, as is the topic for our discussion. So I agree with the previous discussions that we need to use the data which are being generated by the various platforms and use it for better decision making. But as agreed, I still think presently our cities are more in phase one and two and three, in which we are now gathering this data. And with time and experience, maybe we would be able to better use it for decision making in our urban policies. So, one just small example I would like to highlight, like we installed some smart poles in which we have air quality sensors. So once we were analyzing the data and we suddenly noticed that the pollution used to spike around 5 to 6 a.m. So that led us to analyzing like what can be the reason for this. And when we went out, we saw that that was happening in commercial areas where we started sweeping in the morning. So this led us to realize the importance, like how the manual sweeping is affecting the air quality at that time, especially when the pedestrians are going on for a morning walk. So then we switched on to mechanized sweeping in those areas, especially in the morning, so that the pedestrians don't suffer that pollution impact. So all these things, the data coming in, the citizen feedback coming in, and all this input being used to frame better urban policies, I think this is the future for the city governance for the cities in India. And I hope we are able to fulfill this in a time bound manner and in which we can meet the aspirations of the citizens. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Amit.
Yeah, fine.
Sorry to intervene. Actually, Lalit Jain has to reach somewhere. So if you can next, if Lalit Jainji can speak,
Yeah.
then first you can just give a brief, and then Lalit ji can speak.
Okay, for sure, for sure. So our next speaker would be Mr. Jain. He is a director cum special secretary for rural development and panchayats with government of Himachal Pradesh. And over to you, sir. I think is he there? Fahim, I don't see him.
Uh, there's a network. I
Maybe
think.
there might be some network issue. So by the time he joins, let me just the key takeaways from. Uh, I think Sanyam has also left. He's also not there. Okay, coming to Satya sir from Aligarh Municipal Corporation. Good morning, sir. So you are on mute, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
you are
morning.
audible, sir. So I think Lalit sir has joined. Satya sir, if you can allow us to take him online. Lalit sir, uh, over to you. If we can have just your thoughts about the topic, and specifically, what are the initiatives that you think can be the stepping stones around showcasing how we are moving from smart to responsive, both in terms of citizen, energy, environment, and governance perspective. Over to you, Lalit sir. You are on mute right now. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. There is
Can
slight
you hear me,
disturbance, but
please?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. You have muted yourself again. I think I think we still have technology issues. Fahim, if you can handle it offline with sir, that would be great. And in the interim, what we can do is, for the benefit of the audience, we'll continue with Satya sir. Satya sir, we are over coming back to you. Apologies for this technology glitch. As Murphy says, if anything has to go wrong, it will go wrong. So, yeah. So over to you, Satya sir.
Good morning to everybody. I'm Satya Prakash from Aligarh. Amit, as you told initially, the technology recently used only for city operation. As we think, practically, ICT platform in the smart cities for city operation, but we have to focus how
सत्या
to
जी आपकी
city
आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
uh, I'm audible.
Yes, sir. You are audible, loud and clear.
Okay, so still we have to cover how to experience the citizen, how citizen will experience. But as of now, we are mainly focused on the ICT. We are using the ICT only for the city management and the process issues. So we have to cover this issue. But come to the my city, how we are moving from the smart city to responsive city in case of energy, environment, and the governance issue. So Aligarh is a mid city around 13.5 lakhs population, and it's a third round smart city. But on the technology side, we have developed our ICT infrastructure, command and control center, and during the COVID we have used it. On the energy side, first I will focus how we are using the technology in the energy side in our city. As Swam told, the solar side, yes, now we have started the project on rooftop solar in the ABD area. But we are looking for big projects, solar projects. But on the in the city, uh, electricity metering, we are working on it. And the environment point of view, we have launched a waste to energy project with the help of the government Swedish company. It is started, so it's a big boom for energy sector. Come to the environment side. In city, uh, we have covered around 60 kilometer water supply sewerage scheme covered with the 45 MLD STP. The how efficiently we use the resources, we are launching a reuse water project, and a nearby thermal power station is about to take our reuse water. It's a win-win situation. It's a financially viable situation. We are working on that on the reuse front also. The water supply scheme, we are running a major big project on the water supply sector, around 300 crore Amrit project in the city. The third important point where the citizen engagement is involved, we are developing a Aligarh Habitat Center. It's a 7-story building. It's a co-working space. Here we are developing an exhibition center for the lock industries. because Aligarh is known for the lock industries. The second important thing, we don't have any the cultural center in the city, but in that building we are developing a music and dance studio, and as well as a 200-seater auditorium. So city talent can use this infrastructure. The third important thing in we developing in that particular building, uh, incubation center. It's a 180-seater incubation center. Aligarh is known also for the Talim because Aligarh Muslim University is near in our city. It's a central university. So there are good talent in my city. So how we harness their talent? So smart city is providing the platform through this incubation center. So in that building, we will establish our control and command center. So this co-working space will engage the citizen as well as the city manager at the same platform. So right from the city uh, operation management to experience the people how the smart city, smart technology is benefiting them, and from data collected from these schemes, how we can develop the insights and implement our scheme in welfare of the citizens in our city. So we are moving ahead in the energy as well as the environment sector properly. So hope so. From city operation to citizen experience, certainly we will achieve soon.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your suggestion, point of view on this topic. Now we'll move to our next panelist, Dr. Gaurav Antil, who is from Gurugram Municipal Corporation. He is currently there as a joint commissioner. And over to you, Gaurav sir, for your thoughts around this topic and how Gurugram is moving on this journey, first of becoming smart, and then moving towards the being more responsive, and especially in this time of COVID, which has engulfed us, not only us but the entire world, and it is challenging the governments both at the central, state, and at a city level, the ways which normally reserved for the kind of wars and the depression and the natural disasters. So we know that governments at different levels are taking extreme measures to limit the entire loss to the human lives and minimizing the economic disruption. So from that perspective, we would like to understand that what is that, and correlating to this topic, how Gurugram as a city is trying to uh, solve these crises and that are being faced by with a plethora of information that is coming from multiple sources. Whether it because Gurgaon being a say millennial city, there are so many netizens and who have a huge impact on the overall, I would say, the thought process of the city, and they are constantly providing their feedback to the city through social media, and citizens are looking towards the government for credible information and guidance. So in these challenging times, how Gurugram is coping up, that is a specific area of interest for many of our audiences. So that's where we would like to have your point of view, sir.
Good morning, all. I am Dr. Gaurav, Joint Commissioner, Municipal Corporation, Gurugram. I feel privileged to be part of this panel, and I'm very thankful to the organizers for organizing this virtual conclave. In this current scenario, we are aiming for cities which are providing core infrastructure that include adequate water supply, assured electricity supply, managing our sanitation, urban mobility, affordable housing, especially for the poor, through robust IT connectivity, digitalization, and IT interventions. I would start my sharing with the initiatives with Gurgaon Municipal Corporation, Gurgaon Administration, and our umbrella body, the GMDA, Gurgaon Metropolitan Development Authority. What initiatives generally we are taking and what are the corona specific initiatives we are taking. We are using the latest technologies and IT interventions with respect to the solid waste management. We have an integrated solid waste management project that incorporate include all the aspects right from door to door collection, then transportation, that MSW, and processing it at the waste to energy plant. Right at the source segregation level, at the household level where this MSW is generated. To begin with, we have installed some QR codes in 2 3 sectors so that we are aware of the percentage of houses that are covered with respect to door collection, aiming for the 100% door to door collection. We are using a Swachh Nagar app for that. Then our route of vehicles carrying MSW, the working at the waste to energy plant is reviewed online on daily basis in our integrated command and control center that is being looked after by GM. Municipal Corporation Gurugram has geo-mapped all the community and public toilets which are being maintained. The drawbacks are being rectified through the citizens' feedback. We have an intra-city bus project that has around 200 buses for the city Gurugram. The route rationalization, e-ticketing, and various other IT interventions are used in that to provide a comfortable experience for the commuters. Then the mechanized sweeping on main roads is being followed. The vehicles are also geotagged. The data generated is reviewed on daily basis to optimize the efficiency of services which are being provided. But what I feel, we only focus on the usage and implementation of technologies rather than the inhabitants of the cities, their basic needs, and how they can be involved in the planning process. As Mr. Sujit has rightly said in his presentation, that citizen feedback should be incorporated in the planning process itself so that we can improve the service delivery, we can improve their experience. With respect to the Corona initiatives, the Gurgaon Metropolitan Development Authority is coordinating with all the departments. We have collected a database of all doctors, paramedicals, whether private or government, retired or serving doctors. Then we have started e-medicine. We have started few helpline numbers. Any person feeling discomfort or suspecting some corona symptoms are there, he can connect our panelists, the doctors we have registered on our website. Then we have a complete database of medical facilities, hospitals, beds, and different paraphernalia that we have with respect to this. We also develop committees right from the ground level. In each ward of the municipal corporation, unit committees, then sector committees and zonal committees to review if there is any necessity of medical intervention, any necessity of ration for the distressed families who have lost their livelihood or not able to work, who are hand to mouth. So we have surveyed all of the city during this corona crisis. All the daily wage laborers, we provided ration on daily basis at their footsteps because we have a comprehensive survey of exactly the requirements of people with respect to the medical facilities, with respect to food. So we were able to contain the movement of migrant labor for a long time, for 3 4 months. and the unrest was avoided. So these are the basic interventions which Gurugram Administration Corporation and GMDH have jointly undertaken. So I would like to stop here to gain some insight from the experiences of our other esteemed panelists. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gaurav sir. Thanks. So now we move to our other panelist, Mr. Ramesh Chauhan, who is from Dehradun Municipal Corporation. And Dehradun being one of the smart cities as well. And on the foothills of Himalayas, I think the impact of initiatives on the environment and the things are of utmost importance to this city. So, from that perspective, we would like to hear your experiences, sir, around this and how various interventions by Dehradun Municipal Corporation is helping Doon citizens to become more participative in this journey of being responsive. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Uh, thank you, sir. Uh, may I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible. You are loud and clear.
Okay. Transformation of cities from smart to responsiveness, and their impacts on citizen and energy, environment, and governance. I'm talking about the year 2015 witnessed of the measures taken by the central government uh, to vibrancy in the cities and the towns of the country by launching of many time-bound mission mode projects, initiatives such as smart city missions, housing for all, and digital India and Amrut. And now it is important for the our urban local bodies to understand that the smart cities is not the destination, but the part of an ongoing journey, ongoing journey towards the buildings and managing the cities in the sustainable manners. Uh, I think in this concern, the four pillars of the comprehensiveness development: institutional, physical, social, and economic infrastructure. This can be long-term goals for making a cities a smart and responsiveness cities. Work towards developing such as the comprehensive infrastructure, incremental and editing on the layers of smartness. Uh, I think urban local bodies and cities needs to setting the new urban agenda for making a cities smart and and look after the point of urbanization trends, the challenges of financing, urban development goals, and urban housing and services, and new urban agenda for transforming of the cities in terms of the citizen participation and energy conservation, environmental conservation, like, waste to wealth and solid waste management, clean cities, and so that improve the quality of life of the city dwellers. And in terms of the governance, improve the transparency and accuracy in the government system and accountability and uh, level of the grievance redressal mechanism, and some initiatives we had taken in smart cities projects. We have we have a developed integrated command and control center, and this command and control center, we have support in COVID-19 management, information management system, and uh, recently our state is launched e-Nagar Seva for the urban local bodies, online property tax management, and trade licensing, and we install the water ATM and drive comprehensive drive for urban forestry, urban conservation of the urban biodiversity, and uh, in schools under the smart city project, we connect the school and improve the make a classroom a smart classrooms, and underground cabling system and electricity is project is also going on, and uh, rejuvenation of the Gandhi Park and parade ground is going on, and these are the some initiatives that we are taking in smart city projects in our cities, and we focused on the citizen participation, citizen engagement in local culture, folk. Uh, Recently, we celebrate Harela, one of the folk festival in the Uttarakhand, and it is this festival is dedicated to nature, and in this drive, large scale of the trees saplings in the state and as well as in cities. Uh, these are the initiatives, and uh, obviously there is a very strong citizen engagement and participation on to moving over the urban sustainability and eco to develop the eco cities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for sharing the set of projects that currently Dehradun city has undertaken, whether it is the state government initiative or whether those are under the pages of smart city program. Uh, so now we move to the next part of our discussion where we will open ourselves to the questions from the our audiences if they have any questions for us. Uh, Fahim, are you there?
We don't see any questions as of now.
So
Though we
if
have
there
one
are
more
no
people.
questions, and is Sanyam over there? Sanyam sir is over there.
No, Sanyam sir has a meeting with the chief secretaries who have just left. So Lalit ji is,
Okay.
I think so he is logging in.
Yeah. Lalit sir, over to you, sir. If we are audible.
Yeah, yeah, you all are audible, and thank you so much. I can see my friends Sanyam, Gaurav, and all the organization. Uh, I've been trying to log in for long, but somehow since I was traveling, and it's a mountainous area, so networks are always an issue. Coming straight to the point, I've been hearing the conversations. It's good that we are all talking about the smart cities, but I am a man from the village who look after villages only in Himachal Pradesh and believe that it is high time we also now start talking about smart living, whether it is on top of the mountain, whether it's in the valley, it's in a big city like Gurugram, or it's in a small place like Mashobra near Shimla. Uh, Smartness will not necessarily come by use of IT only or new gadgets or new technology, but sometimes the ease of living, whatever manner we use, that entails smartness. So the motto of any smart living should be how easy the life of the people we make, uh, keeping in view the ecological concerns and the health concerns also, especially in the post-COVID times. It is no smartness if we are surrounded all the time by electrical circuits and by Wi-Fi, which is very strong in range, and after 50 years, we'll all realize that we have Alzheimer's. So, thinking about smartness and health goes hand in hand. Uh, of course, right? This should not dismiss the advancements in information technology or advancement in gadgets and advancement in any other technology. But what I mean to say is that uh, smartness should be a hybrid model. To give you an example, in one of the villages where I visited, the high mountains, energy which the water carried, they had a small city that is a floor, and from Aligarh they generated electricity also. So it is a smartness which they were doing. But in a place like Himachal Pradesh, we do require more connectivity, especially of the services for which physical presence is not needed. For example, telemedicine. In areas like Lahore Spiti, where no doctor is posted, uh, if we can do diagnosis by telemedicine, that will be of great help. Likewise, distance education is another factor. Then all the government paying your bills, uh, availing of any copies of documents, and all other things. I also feel that in the world when smart cities have become a buzzword, we have too many solutions, too many things chasing us, and at the end of the day, we are just confused which technology we should opt for. Rather, when we talk about smartness, there should also be a talk about integration. There are thousands of systems available for a process, and what is important is that we integrate them. Because you put on a platform pictures, after some time you realize that the data which you want to put in that picture is more complicated. Just as it has become complicated to ask for the services which you have, so complicated to know which one is using in governance. So uh, perhaps our smartness should also be talking about integration and solutions which in future have compatibility with everything else. Uh, since I also look after town and country planning for a short while, I have that portfolio. So again, there is a requirement of smart solutions for city planning, especially post-COVID times when we are looking for places which are open in nature, which have a semblance of isolation also. I think, in short, I have said whatever moot point I wanted to make, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Lalit sir. I think there is no better way to put uh, what you said was smartness is not about large IT systems or large technology interventions. It is about bringing in the smartness from small isolated systems, integrating them together and helping them to converge for a larger cause. And that is something which I understand very clearly. So if I were to take a small example, a very small example that I would like to quote of a not a very high end technology, but reusing an existing thing and coming up with a solution. The example that I want to talk about was a city that was facing a lot of problem related to rats that were impacting the overall civic services in the city, and there were very limited waiting resources. So how cities started using was that cities started using not only the data that was related to the historical data related to the broken windows, the water main breaks, the garbage reports that were coming, rat control requests that were coming, and then based upon that, going for a using these multiple data sources which are not related to them, and also related to the data that was coming from health department or certain pandemics. Now, correlating this entire data, the city was able to use predictive analysis and take preventive measures, basis which that rat menace was reduced in first year itself. It was reduced by 27%. So imagine a situation where no big IT system or an IoT devices or those kind of things were installed. It was just a historical data that was used from various other, by converging the data from various other departments, correlating the data and coming up with a predictive analytics. So there I totally agree with you, Lalit sir, that it is not about implementing high-end IT systems. It is about integrating data from various sources and repurposing that data and using it. So absolutely clear. The other example which Sanyam gave related to this entire paddy residual usage and converting into a biofuel. Now that is also something which is not a high-end technology solution. It is all about using the exist, because today the meteorological department is already publishing that data of where the paddy burning is happening, where high concentration of CO2 is there in those parts of the country, and how that data can be correlated, and based on the predictive analysis we can come up with identifying which are the farmers who need to be communicated and who need to be counseled, so that the purchase of paddy can happen from those places. This way it will have and there is no high-end technology solution that we are implementing. So I think these are few of the use cases which I see. Yes, talking about the entire mechanized sweeping, uh, moving to mechanized sweeping, not during the early hours of the day, but late in the day, when we are talking about the spikes that are being observed from the air sensors that have been installed on the smart poles. Now this is something which is becoming responsive, using your instrumentation layer, generating that data, studying that data, and becoming responsive. Now this is something which is the true spirit of our topic, where we are talking about how it is impacting the citizen, energy, environment, and the overall governance. So Fahim, you
Yeah.
want to say something?
Yeah. So basically now, it's like we have heard all the government perspective on basically the topic of our session, right? So I think so now Sujit can bring in the industry perspective as well on this overall scenario.
Yeah, so I was about to come back to Sujit specifically. So there were two things that I took from Sujit's presentation. The key themes. The first theme that was there was data from the citizen should be collected once, and that data should be the single point to catering to the multiple needs of that citizen, keeping citizen at the centricity, keeping citizen at the center, and developing services around that, and collecting data once and reusing it for multiple purposes around various services that a citizen avails from the government. That was one. Sujit, I would like to hear a few use
Sure,
cases
sure.
around that if you have.
Absolutely.
Point number two, related to that was where we are talking about data in silos. How data is being generated in silos, and the example that I gave, the entire data that is related to the complaints that are coming to the civic authority about rat menace. Then there is a data related to the diseases that are happening because of the rat menace. Now that is residing with health department. Then there's a third data
Absolutely.
that is related to the water leakages that are happening, and the data that is with the agriculture department related to the loss of agricultural crop that is happening because of the tax. Now, all these three data, when correlated, it will lead to a lot of insights and a lot of actionable information and improvement in governance. So,
Absolutely.
if we were to talk about those data in silos and talk about what are the ways in which we can do to a few use cases or few examples that you might have, we would like to hear from you. Over to you, Sujit.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amit. I think you raised very pertinent point, and I think the rat example is a wonderful example. I'm guessing this must be from somewhere outside India, because the moment we talk about something like this, unfortunately, uh, the response that we get is that this can't be done in India, because sometimes we feel that this is too much technology, that there's a need of too much technology to achieve this. But at the end of the day, uh, if you look at the technology intervention to do this, it's very, very minimalistic. While yes, it plays its role, it is about bringing the culture of collecting data and bringing that data into one place. That's the larger issue that needs to be addressed. But I'll come to the first point that you mentioned about the collecting data once, and in the technology parlance, what we call as master data management. Essentially, that is what uh, ensures that you need to collect data only once and you use it multiple times. And this has been a topic of conversation for many years now. There were earlier initiatives by the name of State Resident Data Hub (SRDH), where Aadhaar data was seeded across multiple department databases for social benefit delivery, where the idea was that you should have a golden copy or a single source of truth for all citizen data, and then you use that data for disseminating social benefit to the states or to the citizens. uh, there again, unfortunately, some states did, like Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu, did go with implementing technology solutions, which are helping them even today. But some states did decide to do it manually, where they decided to seed Aadhaar data into Excel tables or other digital format. And then they are now again struggling with new set of data coming over the last 5 years, and then they're again struggling to identify unique beneficiaries. So I think, and in the city parlance, address is one such data element which is used by every city application. But if you take five city applications and you pick out address data from it, you will find probably same address is written in five different ways in those applications. So can we not have a single address database, and each application can then use that as a pointer, or that single source of truth for capturing data address of a particular property, of a particular business. I think that is something which is a distinct possibility, which cities should now look to implement. So that is where not just the citizen data, I think the address, the property data, all of this is very, very important for a city to establish baseline, and then be able to take decisions, get the 360-degree view, as we call it in the private sector. To get for a private sector, getting that 360-degree view of the city, of a customer, is really, really important. I think that is how cities should also look at creating a 360-degree view of a ward, of a particular property, as well as of a particular individual. So when we do that, that's when we can use all of this data in planning and building reforms. To your other point on aggregating data from silos, we have seen, we all understand that government probably uh, across industries is the last adopter, or at least towards the later part of in terms of adopting technology, compared to some of the other industries like banking or manufacturing. uh, but what the way we have seen the journey for these industries is, they have implemented systems. The next logical step that they've taken is they've brought all of this data into a single place, something called as data warehouse, or a big data, or a data lake. uh, and then, from there they moved to the journey of implementing AI and machine learning. Unfortunately, we have skipped the middle step in cities, and we have moved directly from implementing systems to implementing AI on the other end, and we have not focused on the data management part of it. The example that you gave is a beautiful example, where something as important, but something as minuscule as rat population in a city is addressed using data. I was talking to one of the cities. I don't want to name the city, but there the bigger menace was dogs, stray dogs. So can we look at that kind of data that you talked about for the rat menace? Can we bring that data for dog bite cases from our health system, from dog capturing data from our municipal corporation, or some of those agencies, and then try and address that problem for the city? That is doable. I think that is what uh, the the essence of becoming truly responsive is, where you start getting all of this data together at one place and make meaningful insights out of it. Unfortunately, today we are not doing that, despite whatever interventions that we have done in our cities.
Thanks, Sujit. This indeed is something need of the hour, where
Yeah.
integration and bringing insight, and that is where I think the entire initiative of Government of India in Mahua related to the data-driven governance, the entire
Yes.
urban data observatory uh,
Yes.
is something which is a step in that direction. And I think government of Uttarakhand, especially the urban development department, is actually moving towards creation of something similar, where they want to create something related to this, where certain insights can be drawn from various sets of data that are being generated by various agencies that are operating either at a city level or at a state level, so that actionable insights can be provided to the authorities to not only act, become responsive, but also have an effective policy formulation. So one such example that I want to give would be related to the uh, initiative which various cities are currently taking to increase the share of non-motorized transport in the city, and how they are now today collaborating with the Fahim, you want to say something?
Sujit, there's a question for you, I think. So if you
Yeah.
click on the live comments on the right hand side, if you see,
Okay. What typical Indian government data of
so
each province?
Navin Rai is
Hmm.
the nodal officer for Namche Smart Cities. So he has put up a question to you.
Sure.
What's your opinion about a typical Indian
Hmm.
context where data for each government department follows their internal data privacy or sharing protocol, and how do you think it can be removed?
Okay.
This is a question
Uh,
to you, Sujit.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Naveen sir, for asking this question. I think uh, there is a this is something which is a known problem, and I would not say that this does not exist, and there is no simple solution for this. But uh, the fact that there is a possibility of data anonymization, the technology offers solution where you can anonymize whatever data that you're getting, to ensure that PII standards are met, to ensure that you're only collecting data that is relevant for your decision making, and not collecting personal identifiable information from this data. That should solve the part of this problem. At the same time, I also feel that it is important for the various departments, to understand that the analysis from the data that is being done on data that is getting collected from them also benefits them. For example, let me take an example of a utility company, or utility department, or a electricity department and municipal corporation. Now, if property tax data and meter connection, or electricity consumption data is to be brought together, it will benefit both the departments, not just the municipal corporation. The insights that you can generate from this is can benefit the from the size of the property that is there, from the number of people in this in the household. And you can actually drive insights in terms of what is the kind of consumption the household should have. You can draw patterns as to what is the equivalent consumption for a similar status household in another area of the city, and you can draw patterns as to whether there is a leakage of electricity in a particular area or not. So those when we are able to establish this trust among two departments, that the data that is being used, first, it will be anonymized. It is there's no personal data that is being shared, and second, that this data sharing will eventually benefit both the departments. I think that's when that is the kind of culture that we need to develop in our cities. There's no easy way of doing this. I totally understand it, but as a first step, I think it is important for the municipal corporation itself to start using their own data across multiple departments. So, water data from water connections and data from property tax, they themselves don't talk to each other. So if we can show value of correlation of this data within municipal corporations, that is where we will be able to build trust to for other departments to start sharing it. And from a technology point of view, I think there is enough technology available to make sure that data privacy is maintained, data anonymization is can be done, and you ensure that there is no leakage of data. So that I hope that answers part of your question.
Thanks, Sujit. Just to add to that, Naveen, to answer to your question, I think as they say, charity begins at home. So it is very important that the department which is seeking data from other departments should first walk the talk, and they should make their data available, data sets available for larger citizens to use and innovate on top of it. And based upon few successes, achieving few low hanging fruits, I think more and more people will come on board and they will start collaborating. So it is very important that first of all, the department which intends to use other departments' data, they have to first open their data, and that is what open data culture is all about. How you anonymize data and make it available for the researchers, for the innovators, and for other government departments to start using that data. And that is where we at central level are working with Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and we have more than 500 data sets from various cities which has been made available through Open Smart Cities data platform. You may want to go and see what is the kind of data that is available over there, and what are the kind of use cases that have been demonstrated of how open data that is being made available by various cities can be used. And we can definitely talk about how you can adopt to that. Fahim, any more questions that we have?
No, I don't think so. I think so. You can move towards concluding this session now.
So thanks, Fahim. Thanks for our August panel for sparing some time on a weekend. I know few of the government officials, of course, it's not a weekend; it's a working. And when you're working as a civic officer in a city, it is a 24/7 job. You are working on Sundays, Saturdays, every and at night as well. So it's
Plus,
Ramesh sir is
considering the current
smiling on this.
pandemic.
Yeah, Ramesh sir is
Plus,
smiling on this. I understand his pain where he's working 24/7 all the 7 days of the week. So I
no,
totally understand his situation.
considering the current pandemic, the civic officers are like, if they were busy for 18 hours, they are busy now for another 2-3 hours more. So like it's a
Yeah,
24/7 job which they are into right now.
yeah. So while we in the current pandemic, while we are thanking our paramedics, while we are thanking our security staffs, our civic staff, our municipal corporation authorities deserve equal appreciation for the work that they are doing, how they are actually going beyond the call of the duty and ensuring that the supplies are there, the hygiene is there, the hygiene not only in the hospitals but also in the societies, your drains are clean, all, but they are going the extra mile today, so they also deserve an equal appreciation. So on that note, I would like to close the session. I would like to thank Sujit and Ramesh sir who were there with us till the end of the session. Over to you, Fahim.
Sujit, I think so. Naveen Rai is asking about data anonymity too.
Is that a question or a comment? I'm not sure. But as I said, I think data anonymity is a possibility. I already explained that. How do you ensure that whatever data that you're getting, you're anonymizing anything which is personally identifiable? This is part of something we call as data governance in the technology. From a technology point of view, the data governance layer ensures that any data that is getting collected is anonymized to ensure that there's no personally identifiable information in that data. we have done we've done projects for various cities outside India also, where data privacy laws are even more stringent, where property tax data is collected, but it is anonymized, where only the property ID is visible, and the relevant tax information is available attached to that property ID. So there is no personally identifiable data in that analysis available for anybody who is looking at that report to identify who this person is. It only identifies property ID and what is the tax applicable on this property, what is the default value, how long this default has been. So that kind of data. It does not identify the person. So that is absolutely doable as part of what we call as data governance. And as I said, I think that is the piece that is missing in our cities today, and that is what we should aim to move towards.
Thank you, Sujit. Amit, a very well moderated session to the points, and I think so. It was quite interactive and it's like for our viewers as well, and for us also, from learning from each other about what other cities are doing, and then comes the industry perspective by Sujit. I think so. It was, and it's like the perspective of the rural part of India came from Lalit Janji. Then Sanyam Aggrawal ji talked about how the cities are turning into responsive. Then Satya Prakash ji, Gaurav Antil ji, Ramesh ji. So I would like to thank you all for taking out time and being a part of such an interactive session. And I think so. That's enough from my side. And Amit, if you can just add on a few words and close this, that would be really good.
So, no, I think it was equally beneficial for me as well. This entire session got to know about so many things. One interesting thing, which is related to the entire paddy residual usage in Ludhiana. Now, that is something, if we are able to take it to other places in North India, I think other cities in North India, other civic bodies, if they can take up that project, that will immensely help in reducing the problem that we in National Capital Region face somewhere in November. So I think these are the kind of projects which are actually highly replicable, and they have huge impact on the entire citizen life in terms of and also in our entire environment. So on that note, I think it's a very good learning session for me. And thanks to all the panelists, and thanks for him for organizing this and inviting us for this session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.